If I thought an inquiry would save one life, I absolutely would do it. There's already been 42 studies that have been done. The most recent one is the RCMP study on missing and murdered Aboriginal women. It talks about the issues. It talks about what's the major cause of those missing and murdered Aboriginal women. The study's been done. There's been many other ones that have been done. I think the key is that we respond to it. One of the major drivers of missing and murdered Aboriginal women is lack of economic activity, or simply put, a lack of a job. And I think our perspective, and we have tried to do things where we bring economic activity or jobs to reserve and different other legislation to see that through. And ultimately, when people have a job, they're not in despair, and they can stay on reserve, and that's where we want them to be. We want them to be happy where they live and go from there with their families. I know a lot of them don't want to move off reserve. They want to stay there, and I support that there. We just want them to be able to live there happily and healthily.
Okay. Okay, so we had almost 1,200 women murdered because they didn't have a job? And if they would have stayed on the reserve? You know, 42 studies. Obviously, they have not worked. Women are still going missing today. They're still being murdered. Again, the 42 studies, obviously, it has not worked. Again, we need an inquiry to get to the root causes of those things. You know, in terms of domestic violence, again, we need studies. We need to deal with this issue. It's a shame on Canada's reputation. 1,200 Aboriginal women missing or murdered. That's shameful, absolutely shameful.
We can't look at this like a bunch of robots and say, hey, you know, we've already done the paperwork and we don't think that we can do anything more. The fact is, it's a bloody national emergency and it's a genocide on a small scale. And the government has to actually symbolically show that, wow, this is unbelievable that this is happening, and we've got to do something about that. This is like the biggest priority that we can actually put our energy into.
I think the root cause of all of this is poverty. We've got to address the poverty in Aboriginal communities, and we've got to get people working. If they're going to work because they're so poor that they can't buy milk in the corner store and they have to thumb 300 miles to get to work in a camp someplace else, that people go missing, get hit by a car or something on the highway or whatever. Whatever the excuses are, we need to get to the root causes. Poverty is probably one of the biggest reasons of this. We should address it.